What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Lounge with myself and Alex. And let's just take a quick round of applause. Alex has officially graduated college. He's joined the
Thank you. Thank
ranks
you.
of the unemployed. Welcome to the team. We missed you.
Day two.
Yeah. How is it so far? How's post grad life for you?
It hasn't been the most eventful, but hoping once the season ramps up, we'll get right back in the swing of things. We'll be ready to go. But
Yeah.
just getting out the kinks, shaking off the rust.
Yeah, there's definitely an adjustment period for sure, but I just wanted to shout out Alex for that. It's super cool having him back in Charlotte. And let's talk some ball. So second round is almost done. Two series are over with sweeps that were honestly, one surprised me, one did not. We'll get into that a little later on. Two huge game sixes tonight in the second round, and then a little bit of draft lottery news as well, which is exactly where we're going to start off with. The draft lottery took place this past week with the Wizards securing the number one pick, and it's the first time ever in this current era of the draft lottery that the team with the worst record actually got the number one pick. So that's pretty interesting how that worked out. Obviously, we've talked on numerous episodes about how loaded this draft class is. So even the teams at 2, 3, all the way down, I would say in like the top 7 or 8 are going to get somebody that's going to help them immediately, I think, next season. So, Alex, what are your thoughts on the lottery? Because I've got one team in particular that I think got screwed, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But what are your thoughts overall on the lottery?
Yeah, I think we have that same team who got screwed. I'll get that into that in a little bit. I just want to talk about the winners real quick, and that would be the Grizzlies and the Bulls, two teams who jumped up from outside the top 8 into the top 4. And the Grizzlies and the Bulls, they are taken at 3 and 4 respectively. They will have a chance to land Cameron Boozer and Caleb Wilson, presumably. Both of those are crucial pieces needed for each of their teams, and as well as both of those players being the best individual talents at that position in the draft. It's an absolutely huge win for both those teams. Chicago, especially, they've undergone a little bit of a youth movement featuring Matas Buzelis on their team a lot more. This could be the pick they need to. I don't know. For Chicago, the play-in seems to be where they love to live, so this could be the way that the Bulls get back into the play-in conversation in the East. The Grizzlies, after trading Jaren Jackson Jr. and maybe John Morant, that still need to see and wait what happens with that whole situation. But they're looking like they're entering a rebuilding phase. And the Grizzlies are a team that historically drafts really well. They develop really well. And I think that is a really ideal spot for the development of Cam Boozer. So both of those two teams should be thrilled at the outcomes of their lottery. The losing team, though, wow, the Indiana Pacers
Yep.
are absolutely
Yep.
screwed
Yep.
over.
Yeah.
Let me just,
Uh-huh.
this Pacers team, by the way, the Indiana Pacers have never picked in the top 5 in the entire history of their franchise. Absolutely insane. They have been arguably the example of consistency that NBA franchises want to see. But Halliburton gets hurt in the finals. They figured, okay, we're going to take a gap year this year. We're going to get an elite prospect. And then when Hallie gets back, we're going to be right back in contention next year. Well, the general manager made a trade at the deadline that we called interesting at the time, trading their first round pick, making it top 4 protected, as well as Benedict Mathurin for Ivica Zubac. And, well, safe to say the lottery did not work in their favor. Their pick landed at number 5, and as a result, that pick goes to the Los Angeles Clippers. So the Indiana Pacers tanked for an entire season just to not end up with their first round pick. That is just terrible, terrible luck for the
Yeah.
franchise.
Yeah, I had the same thing written down. That was the one team to me that I just got absolutely screwed by the lottery. And I remember telling you about the protection on the pick when we were talking about who won that trade. And we were like, it's just a wait and see because it depends where that pick lands. So really interesting development there. I think the new tanking rules that have been put in place for next year, obviously, this is the last year of, I think, this version of the lottery that we're going to see. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the lottery is next year based on the tanking rules and maybe some changes they make to the lottery because, yeah, the Pacers got screwed. And they were tanking all year. And it sucks to see. It feels like they were the only team that got punished for tanking like this severely. Obviously, the lottery's not rigged, and It's luck that they got the 5th pick, but still, the lottery system in general, I've complained about it forever, and I think this is a prime example of why it's so bad. Like the Clippers, think about the Clippers, right? They just had the 5th pick fall into their laps. They weren't even on the radar. Like, I don't even think in our mock draft episode we had the Clippers picking in the top 15, right? Like, because we knew they weren't going to have a pick. So, just crazy turn of events, and I feel bad for the Pacers. I did not know that they've never picked top 5 overall. That's kind of insane.
I do gotta say, from the Pacers' perspective, though, the only clear need on their roster was a center, was a big man. They're pretty solid at the guard and forward positions, and as good as this draft class is, the one weakness it has is big men. It has a lack of quality big men. So maybe the Pacers just thought that Zubac was better than any big man they could have gotten in the draft, and that's why they were okay pulling the trigger. If they ended up with, the first or second overall pick and they got the chance at Devontae or Peterson, hell yeah, cherry on top. But I think the Pacers' goal with this pick was to land their big man for the future. And they didn't necessarily have to draft a player to do that. Zubac should definitely hold that position down for at least the next half decade. So, from that perspective, it's not the worst outcome in the world for the Pacers. It just must be incredibly frustrating for a team that's been so consistently, at least in the playoffs, to finally take 1 year off and not get rewarded for it. Like the Washington Wizards, for example. They've gotten top 5 picks the last half decade, it feels like. Right, the Utah Jazz have been tanking since Donovan Mitchell and Gobert left. So it must suck for Pacers fans for this 1 year to not get rewarded like these other 2 teams are that have been tanking for a while. But I don't think it's the end of the world in terms of the future of the Pacers, especially because this year was always considered to be a gap year.
Yeah, and also the draft is not the only way to acquire players. Obviously, free agency with Indiana with their roster and the run they went on last year, I'm sure that will be a destination for some guys that want to, play for a contending team next year, because Indiana will be, in my opinion, a top 5 team in the East next year, fully healthy. Like, they're going to be competitive. Absolutely. And I think if you add free agent talent to that as well, the sky's the limit for them. They made the finals with a roster that we looked on paper and said was not good. So, I still think you're right here that it's not the end of the world for the Pacers. I just, it was a crazy turn of events that happened for them at the lottery, and quite literally worst case scenario for the Pacers.
It was exactly worst case scenario. That was exactly it. But still, worst case scenario is not the end of the world for them.
Correct.
It might be the end of the world for Brooklyn and Sacramento, the 2 teams that fell out of the top 4 in place for Memphis and Chicago. Because those 2 teams, I don't think we're talking about it as much just because of how deep this draft class is, but I look at Brooklyn, who took 4 guards last year in the first round. Like, are you really going to add a 5th this year with the pick that you're in? I'm sure, if you were in the top 4, you could have had Devontae, Boozer, or Wilson, all of whom would have filled a crucial need on your team. But now you're stuck with Keaton Wagler, Kingston Flemings, Mikael Brown, Darius Acuff, one of those 4 presumably, and all those 4 are great. But now you have 5 rookie or second-year guards on your team. That's just a mess, an absolute mess you have to deal with. And the Kings are just, they're Sacramento. I don't even think the Kings meant to be taking this year. They just sucked. They traded for Zach LaVine in the offseason. They signed Russell Westbrook. They didn't mean to tank. They were just a really dog shit team. And the lottery gods did not work in their favor this time. So those 2 teams, I feel like, also got screwed. And we're just not talking about it as much because this draft class is so deep.
Yeah, I agree with you. Brooklyn, to me, is the team, they were tanking all year, right? Like, the Kings weren't, the Nets were, and yet they still ended up outside the top 5. Like, that, to me, is another reason why the lottery sucks. Like, the Clippers should not have a better pick than the Brooklyn Nets. Like, that should just not be a thing. But, yeah, I feel for Brooklyn because they're terrible. Like, the Kings were not supposed to be terrible. They were supposed to be, play-in maybe type of team, at least 500, right? With at least the roster they put together in the offseason. The Nets were supposed to be the worst team in the league this year. Like, they were supposed to be god-awful. And they were. And they ended up with, the 6th or 7th pick? So, I really feel for Brooklyn. Like, I feel like Brooklyn is the bigger loser of the 2. Because next year, right, the Kings will still have Sabonis and LaVine and DeRozan. Right? What do the Nets have next year? Nothing. They have nothing. MPJ, who... There's no way MPJ wants to stay in Brooklyn long term. No way. So, Yeah, I feel bad for Brooklyn. They were another big loser.
Okay, Sacramento though, I feel like everybody knew Sacramento was going to be bad, except the people on Sacramento. Like both
True.
of us, neither of us predicted Sacramento to
No.
be anywhere. I think I had them at 15th. I think you had them a little bit higher than that preseason. So the expectation wasn't there that they were supposed to be good, but they just weren't actively
Competitive at
trying to
least
lose like
though.
some of these other teams were.
Competitive
Yeah,
at
exactly,
least.
exactly. And try to be competitive. Also, for Brooklyn, they don't have control of their first round pick next year. So that's another reason this lottery just screwed them over. This is supposed to be the pick that got them over the hump, that at least got them in the playing conversation because they have no incentive to tank next year. Now, with their sixth overall pick, they're not going to get that franchise-changing talent. They're going to be in the lottery next year, and Houston is going to get basically a free pick from Brooklyn, a free lottery pick to add to their core, as well as whatever they get in the Kevin Durant trade. So I mean, if you're Houston, you gotta love how this lottery worked out for you because it didn't make Brooklyn any better.
Yeah, no, that's a great point as well. And the anti-tank rules. This is going to look completely different next year. Like this is the last year we'll be talking about the lottery in this context. So very interesting stuff that came out of the lottery. Warriors and Bucks didn't really have a great lottery. I was hoping, I was praying. Neither one of us got into the top 10, I don't believe. So
We got number 10. Bucks got number 10.
oh, okay.
We're basically there.
Yeah, Warriors are 11th, but yeah, not the best odds for our teams, but that's okay. I think that's gonna be all right.
It's a deep class. We can get a great upperclassman with those picks.
I'm praying that Yaxel Lendeborg falls to the Warriors. Praying, hoping, and praying.
Not the Bucks getting first. Not the Bucks
Hoping
getting first.
and praying because I feel like he would be the perfect fit for our team. All right, yeah, that's just my thoughts. Is there anyone you want for the Bucks before we move on?
Well, it depends on whether or not Giannis gets traded, right? If Giannis stays in Milwaukee, then we're going to be a contender. I think the pick is best spent on an upperclassman, Yaxel Lendenborg, a great name for that. Ade Mara. If the team has lost confidence in Miles Turner, I could see them going Ade Mara. He's been a big riser through the draft combine. But if Giannis gets traded, yeah, we have to enter a full-on rebuild. We need to draft young talent, and I just have to hope one of those four guards I mentioned before somehow falls to number 10. And if any of them do, that is the guy that I think Milwaukee should take.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, moving on to our second round reactions, and like we mentioned at the beginning, there were two sweeps, 2 game 6s tonight. So we'll start with the sweeps. The teams that have been sitting on the bench for about a couple days, some longer than that. And let's start with the Thunder Lakers series, which honestly, respect to the Lakers, was a competitive sweep. Like each game was competitive for 3 out of the 4 quarters. And then it looked like the Thunder took over in the fourth quarter of the first 3 games. Fourth game was very close. I have underestimated this Thunder team. They are very good at basketball. However, the 2 teams they've played in the playoffs are not great. The Lakers without Luka and the Phoenix Suns are not great teams. So I'm not like extremely impressed by what they're doing. However, they are taking their opponents seriously. They are taking care of business, and they are dominating, which is something I will give them credit for. And so, a reason why I did not know they were capable of this without Jalen Williams. Personally, I did not think they were capable of such dominance without Jalen Williams, and that I think is where the underestimation came in. And I remember saying before the Lakers Thunder series that I think the Lakers should let Shea do whatever he wants and just fry them and stop everyone else. And JJ Redick decided to do the complete opposite. He decided to stop Shea and let everybody else fry him for 4 games. That was his strategy, and it did not work. So I want to hear your thoughts on this series, obviously. But those are kind of my takeaways from the series. The Thunder are really good, and the Lakers didn't have Luka, and that sucks. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm right there with you. I think we drastically underrated the Thunder because this team has been dominant. Yes, they've coasted through the first quarter, the first half of their games, and then it's usually like between a tie game or a 5-point lead at halftime. It's a competitive game. And the third quarter comes, and the Thunder just take over that 5-point lead because a 20-point lead before you even know what happened. And then it's just cruise control the rest of the way. I mean, that is a sign of a dominant team. That you can kind of coast your way through most of the games, turn it up for about 6 to 8 minutes, and emerge with a pretty comfortable win. This team is incredible. And like you said, even without Jalen Williams, an all NBA third team member last year, they are still putting up this kind of dominance. They are 8-0 so far in the playoffs. They have not lost a playoff game. Yes, they haven't played the greatest teams. Like you said, Lakers without Luka and Phoenix aren't exactly the most daunting opponents. But 8-0 is still 8-0. And if you can get through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs without losing a game, you've entered the conversation of dominance. And the best player in this Thunder Lakers series, it was not reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or his fellow All-Star Chet Holmgren. It was not LeBron James, although if you want to say that, I would hear you out. He was incredible, but he got swept, so I don't think he can be the best player. It's not Austin Reeves, who's looking for a max contract, and it was not former number 1 overall pick DeAndre Ayton. The best player in this series was AJ Mitchell. And you know what? I'm going to say this right now. Austin Reeves is looking for a max contract this offseason. He's looking for $40 million a year. I would take AJ Mitchell over Austin Reeves right now. And I don't think it's that close. We had a long debate between Mitchell and Jared McCain a few episodes back. Mitchell has left those conversations. AJ Mitchell is no longer in those conversations. He is in borderline all-star conversations. And if he gets a bigger role anytime soon, I think he will be. I said this back when we made this episode. He has all-star potential, and he is showing it this playoffs. When you are the best player in a series with 2 all-time greats, Shai and LeBron, I mean, that's got to be worth something. That's got to be a flower in your cap. I think AJ Mitchell is an absolutely electric watch, and I view him very similarly to Jalen Brunson on the Mavericks, who he was behind Luka Doncic, kind of played second fiddle to him, but he had a couple of games where he showed out and he showed that he could be so much more. The Knicks took a chance on him in free agency, and now Brunson has become the face of New York. I think AJ Mitchell could do something very similar if a team is willing to take a chance on him when he is in free agency.
I love that comparison that you just made. I think that's spot on to not only his role but his potential. Right? Like I don't think anyone thought Brunson.
His play style, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think anyone thought Brunson would be who he is today those years ago. And I still don't. If you told me that, like, do you think AJ Mitchell could be the face of a franchise in 5 years? Right now, I would say no. But also, what you just compared him to, I didn't think that about Brunson 5 years ago either. Right? So there's definitely similarities there, especially to the play style. I'm going to disagree slightly on the best player in the series. I'm still going to give it to Shai. I know his numbers didn't look good, but the attention he was drawing on every defensive possession from the Lakers was truly astonishing to me. And he also balled out in Game 4 to close him out. He absolutely cooked. So while the Thunder didn't need Shai to be at an MVP level to win this series, I still think he was the best player in this series. But AJ Mitchell, to me, was right there. He did have a great series, and I'll give him credit for that. The Austin Reeves, my God, did he have a bad series. Now, I will cut him some slack because he was coming off an injury, and he is looking for that max contract, and he is an absolute bucket. Don't get me wrong. Like, Austin Reeves can score at will in the NBA, which is, for a guy of his stature, is quite impressive. But what AJ Mitchell provides, I just think he's bigger, stronger, more athletic than Austin Reeves. And to me, like, that's why I would hear you out on that argument that he's better than Austin Reeves. I don't think he's better than Austin Reeves because I know Austin Reeves is an absolute bucket, right? I know Austin Reeves is an absolute dog. But AJ Mitchell, to me, has the better build of an NBA player. Skill-wise, I think it's very close. I would still give it to Reeves. But if you wanted to argue for your team, if you wanted a guy built like AJ Mitchell that plays like AJ Mitchell over a guy that's built like Austin Reeves and plays like Austin Reeves, I would give you that. I would. I would really hear you out on that. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. I think individually Austin Reeves is still better. But AJ Mitchell had the better series, and I'm interested to see what happens to the Thunder when they have to start paying these guys. Chet, J-Dub, AJ Mitchell, Isaiah Joe, like
Cason Wallace, yeah.
Yeah, like all these guys are I equate it very much to like in the NFL, right? when you have a rookie quarterback and you can spend all your money on the other positions for like 4 years, and then you have to pay the quarterback, and all of a sudden your team starts to get worse because you can't pay like receivers and running backs and edge. Like the same is going to happen for the Thunder eventually, where they have to pay all these young guys, and then the guys like Hartenstein and Caruso are going to have to go because they can't afford those guys anymore, right? And then the team's not as good because you don't have the same depth that you did when you were paying all these guys minimum wage in the NBA, right? So I'm really interested to see if one of these young guys decides, hey, I want to take a shot at being a number one, right? And with the rise of AJ Mitchell, like, does Jalen Williams start to look elsewhere too? Like, I really don't know what. Obviously, they're winning, so that helps a lot of it. But if one of these guys wants to be the number one on his own team, I think the Thunder could fleece another team with like a trade. Like that's kind of where I think we're headed. Is just another masterclass from the Thunder GM in a trade that involves one of their young stars right now.
But here's the thing about this Thunder masterclass that they put on is that they don't. It is so easy to replace these guys they might lose because they have seemingly an infinite number of draft picks. They have a lottery pick this year from the Clippers, right? So they can easily replace one of those guards if AJ Mitchell or Caruso or Cason Wallace or anyone or Jared McCain for that matter or anyone else decides to leave. Well, they have the 14th overall pick. Someone like Cam Carr out of Baylor. That could be a great match for Oklahoma City. I think that is a match made in heaven for both player and team, right? So with this accumulation of draft picks that they have, it is so easy to replace these players. Look at Thomas Sorber, who they drafted last year. He missed all of this year due to his ACL tear. But if Hartenstein leaves in free agency this season or this offseason, no big deal because Thomas Sorber's there waiting on the bench. Or you know who else we didn't mention? Nikola Topic, a lottery pick 2 years ago, who still has not really played all that much because he was battling through injuries and a cancer diagnosis. So he's another player who could easily step up. The Thunder could lose, like, their backup guards and still find easy replacements for them. The Thunder could lose their backup center and still have an easier replacement for him. And those draft picks aren't going away anytime soon. And like you said, if they decide to trade some of these players instead of letting them walk in free agency, they're only going to add to the number of draft picks that they have, only making it more easy to replace those players in the future. Oklahoma City has got a full assembly line going on here of just using guys on the rookie scale contracts, developing them into stars, and then, getting what they can in return for them. It is a masterclass in team building, and every GM in the NBA should be trying to replicate what the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing. I just got to say, Austin Reeves, as good as he is on offense, he is an absolute cone on defense. He is a traffic cone. He cannot stay in front of my 16-year-old sister. It is painful to watch for Lakers fans. AJ Mitchell, maybe he isn't as good offensively. I would hear you out there. He clears Austin Reeves on the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely.
It's not particularly close. AJ, and it's not even because of his, he doesn't have the physical tools, right? He's, 6'1"? But he plays with this Patrick Beverly style and just being an absolute pest. And that gets you very far on the defensive end. I mean, that gives him the reputation of a difficult player to score against. And I think because of that, I don't think that it's very close between him and Austin Reeves. I think the defensive gap is way bigger than the offensive gap to justify taking Reeves over Mitchell. And I've also been high on AJ Mitchell all year. Maybe this is bias coming into play here, but I think this dude has an all-NBA ceiling. I think this dude could be the next Jalen Brunson if the team is willing to take a chance on him.
Yeah, no, I hear you there on the defense for sure. One thing I do want to point out about defense, though, that I think about, it's a lot easier as a guard to be a quote-unquote pest when you have Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein behind you, right?
Fair.
And you have Lou Dort and, Alex Caruso on the wings. Like, it's a lot easier to be aggressive because the guys behind you will help if you get beat, right? And that's also a culture thing. Like, I think Oklahoma City takes defense very seriously. Neither one of us would say the Lakers take defense seriously. So, again, Austin Reeves, you're right, is a traffic cone. And I'm not, this is not to defend his defense, but I'm just saying the team culture as well. Like, if you put Austin Reeves on the Thunder, I think he'd be a significantly better defender than what he is right now. Just because of the culture they have there and you're not allowed to be bad on defense in Oklahoma City. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was the same thing that, like, the Warriors were so great for so many years because of how good their defense was. Because all the stars bought in on defense. Even Steph started locking in on defense, getting a little bigger, just so that he wasn't an absolute liability on that end of the court. Right? Like, you do not have to be the best defender in the league. You just can't be a liability. But again, it was easy for Steph to do that because he was surrounded by Clay, Draymond, Iguodala, and Draymond Green. Right? Like, that was easy for him to do, to buy in and lock in on defense. Like, when Reeves is surrounded by Luka, LeBron, and Ayton, I think the last thing he's thinking about is defense. And so that is one thing where I think team culture and roster building in particular has a lot to do with Austin Reeves' individual defense, because if Austin Reeves gets blown by, he does not have a help side defender coming over to protect him, right? So it's a lot harder to get up into a guy and play aggressive when you know DeAndre Ayton's behind you and he ain't protecting shit. You know what I'm saying? So that to me is where, like, yes, like the defensive gap, you're right, is significant individually, but also from a team perspective, it is different significantly. And I know when I played basketball, if I had somebody behind me that I trusted on defense, I played more aggressive because you know you've got backup behind you. And I just don't think really anyone on the Lakers feels that way. Like, unless Marcus Smart is behind you somehow, some way, like, you have no help. You have no help whatsoever. Maybe Rui will get a block here and then, but the Lakers, like, defense, I don't think they practice defense. Seriously, I don't know if they practice defense.
That's a good point there. How the team is put together and just the way the team is built and what the coaching staff prioritizes is definitely the crucial part in maintaining good team defensive play. And we haven't really seen that from JJ Redick, the prioritization, the harping on defense very much at all. Let's move on to the other sweep in the Eastern Conference. And this one was, for me personally, a shocking sweep.
Yeah.
And not just the sweep itself, but that none of the games were particularly close at all. Because the Knicks put belt to ass on the Philadelphia 76ers. And I really thought this was going to be a competitive series. I picked the Sixers to win it in 6. Like,
I
thought they were going to
I picked them in 7.
Competition. I thought, regardless, I thought it was going to be competitive, and I thought the Sixers had a great chance for an upset. Well, that did not happen. I've been seeing a quote going around on social media a lot that reads, "Everybody's better than Jalen Brunson until it's time to be better than Jalen Brunson." And I think that is I think that's true. Because we were over here talking about Embiid as the best player in the series, by far and away. We were talking about Tyrese Maxey over Jalen Brunson. After this series, yeah, neither of those things are even close to being true. Brunson was by far and away the best player in this series. Embiid looked, unfortunately, washed. He could not keep up on the defensive floor at all, and offensively, in the games that he played, he just still looked limited. You could tell that first-round series clearly did a number on him. Tyrese Maxey didn't have the most efficient series. BJ Edgecombe looked like a rookie. I mean, it was just an ugly, ugly series all around if you're a Philadelphia fan. There's nothing you mean, if you're Philadelphia, you would hang your hat on that Boston win, and you don't talk about anything else the rest of the season. That is where your season ended. Game 7 against Boston, because what a shitty way for an otherwise pretty good season to end.
Yeah, it feels like I have a couple of thoughts. One, it's just embarrassing for Philly, in my opinion, to pour your heart and soul into that first round series and then lay a dud of a series against the Knicks. Like, that is embarrassing. And I think that they viewed Boston as their quote-unquote Super Bowl. And what I mean by that is Boston has beat them in the playoffs what feels like every year in the last 4 years. And I think they thought if they beat Boston, they can beat anybody. And they kind of coasted into the second round. And the Knicks, like you said, just bent them over. Just absolutely dominated them for 4 games. And they didn't even have OG for game 3 or 4 on the road. OG was not playing. So without a top 3 player on their team, on the road, they beat you 2-0 in those 2 games. And game 4, with your season on the line, you lose by 40. Are you kidding me? That is
horrible. Horrible.
And we'll mention this. Daryl Morey got fired. They parted ways. that is an embarrassment of a way to go home. Like, in front of your home fans, which, by the way, half the stadium was Knicks fans. Also embarrassing. I don't know what happened. Like, Game 4, I was watching Game 4 thinking the Sixers were going to crawl back, kind of, and I turned it off after the first quarter. It's like, yeah, this is over. Like, it's done. And I want to shout out Cat. Brunson was amazing, best player in the series. Cat dominated Embiid for 4 games. Did not think that was possible. He absolutely bullied him on the offensive end. He could get whatever shot he wanted against Embiid. Any shot he wanted. It was barbecue chicken for Cat. And I want to shout out him because we obviously joke a lot about Cat. He's an easy player to make fun of because he's the definition of inconsistency. But he had a great series, and they are going to need him to continue this play if they want to make the finals. Because I think right now, with how this Pistons-Cavs series is going, the Knicks are absolutely the favorites right now to win the East.
Absolutely.
I think I've been high on the Pistons. I still believe in them, but I cannot deny what I just saw from the Knicks. They look like a well-oiled machine, and once OG comes back, I mean, Deuce McBride was out here dropping 20 off the, like, Landry Shamet, there was a game he didn't miss. I mean, they have a good team, and Brunson and Cat, if Brunson and Cat are playing like they did against the Sixers, they can beat any team in the league, I think, if they're playing that good.
Hey, and give yourself some credit because you picked the Knicks preseason to go to the finals. So I feel like that deserves a pat on the back of some sort. I know you've been high on the Pistons, but I think your preseason takes gotta mean something there. So yeah, shout out you for that. The Knicks right now are on a 7-game win streak in the playoffs. We just talked about how impressive the Oklahoma City Thunder going 8-0 is. The Knicks right now have won 7 in a row. Winning games 4 through 6 against Atlanta, sweeping the Sixers. Like you said, this team is by far and away the favorite in the Eastern Conference. That's without even including the rest that they're getting over these two teams. I mean, the Knicks are going to have a week off in between games. And that is so good for that, like you said, aforementioned Anunoby injury. He has time to recover. He has time to get healthy, get his cardio back up. I mean, that is absolutely crucial for that team. And meanwhile, you have the Pistons and the Cavs battling it out game after game. Like, the last game just went to overtime. These teams are going to be tired by the time they reach the Eastern Conference Finals. But both those teams played in Game 7s in the first round as well. So yeah, both these teams have already had a marathon playoff run, and they're going to be exhausted come Eastern Conference Finals. That only benefits the Knicks. So yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think the East is their conference to lose right about now.
I would agree. And the atmosphere in the Garden is going to be electric, and I'm kind of rooting for them to make the finals because I think if we can get the Thunder or the Spurs or even Minnesota on the road in the Garden, those atmospheres are going to be absolutely incredible. Like, that stadium is going to be absolutely raucous, and God, I can't wait. The Knicks, I don't even know when's the last time they made the finals. Like, it's been a
great question. Patrick Ewing days. It had to be 91, I think.
Like, it's been a long time since they made the finals. Obviously, conference finals last year and now this year. But the NBA finals for the Knicks, they are 4 wins away, and there's a good chance they get home court advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals because the Cavs are up 3-2 right now. So, yeah, things are looking up for the Knicks. I'm just going to say that. Things are looking up for the New York Knicks right now.
Yeah, and I was not very high on the Knicks after firing Tom Thibodeau. I thought that he was almost a focal point, the culture setter of this team. So shout out Mike Brown because he's proved me wrong. He's done a great job taking this team over and leading them right back to where they were last year with an even better chance to advance a stage further. So shout out Mike Brown for proving me wrong. Let's move on to the series that are going to Game 6s tonight. In about 8 hours from now, we will see the first one. The Cavs and the Pistons. The Cavaliers in Game 5 were down by 9 with 2 minutes left, came back to take it to overtime, and emerged as victors. Their first road win in this playoff series. They now have a chance to take it home in Game 6 in Cleveland. So, Max, I got to ask you, because you've been high on Detroit all year, How does a team choke a 9-point lead in the last 2 minutes of the game?
Yeah, that was a rough look for the Pistons for sure. I want to shout out the Cavs. They finally showed up on the road. That was my biggest critique of them in the first round. And through the first 2 games of this series, they didn't show up. So something in Game 3 clicked. James Harden's been awesome for them. The Pistons, to me, I feel bad for Cade. This guy's having a legendary playoff run, and his only help is an aging Tobias Harris, who, by the way, in Game 5 had his worst game of the playoffs. So, yeah, I feel bad for Cade. I'm pretty sure he leads the NBA in points per game in the playoffs this year. He's absolutely carrying them right now. And I think tonight's Game 6 is the series. I think if the Pistons win tonight, they're going to win Game 7. And I think the Cavs need to win tonight. So this, to me, feels like a must-win, obviously, for the Pistons. But it feels to me like a must-win for Cleveland, too, because I don't see them winning 2 road games in a row against Detroit. So this tonight feels like whoever wins this game is going to the Eastern Conference Finals to play the Knicks. It's about damn time Jalen Duren showed up, though. Like, goddamn. Like, he had a good Game 7. He's had an okay series against Cleveland. But this man was an all-star. This man was an all-star again, like, all year.
Well, hold on. Did you say okay series?
Yeah, defensively, he's been okay. He's been okay defensively. Okay.
No, Jalen Duren has had a dog shit series. Jalen Duren has been atrocious this series. And if you told me this is a series Jalen Duren would be having, I would have been shocked Detroit even took it to 6 games. It is the greatness of Cade Cunningham, the only reason that Detroit is still in the playoffs. You want to hear Jalen Duren's averages this series? Because we were critiquing him against Orlando for not showing up against Wendell Carter Jr. We were saying how he has to step up against Cleveland. His average this series, 9.4 points, 6.6 rebounds. There is nothing okay about that. There is nothing okay about your all-star center who is going to be asking for a max contract this offseason, averaging single-digit points in the playoffs. This is not okay. No, this is absolutely atrocious. It is terrible, and it is the sole reason that Detroit is losing. Because Jalen Duren was supposed to be the second option that stepped up. The Cunningham and Jalen Duren pick and roll was supposed to be unguardable. But Duren is getting outplayed by every single big man he's coming across. And it's not even particularly close. Duren looks physically outmatched against Evan Mobley, against Jared Allen, in the same way he looked against Wendell Carter Jr. I think Jalen Duren has cost himself a max contract this offseason. I think he's cost himself about $20 million. I would be shocked to see Detroit offer him anywhere near a max contract after this postseason that he's had. It has been, you were very, very generous with your okay statement. He is, I think, the sole reason that Detroit is going to underperform compared to their seed line.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, Duren is the biggest disappointment of this playoff run so far for the Pistons. That's no brainer. But I'm still willing to say that he's been okay. He's not been good. He's not been great. He's been average. He's an average NBA center right now. That's how he's playing. Like, he's playing like an average center in the NBA. That's okay. But he's an all-star, so I need him to step up and play better than okay. That's just where I'm at. He didn't play in Game 5, by the way. He played like 1 minute in Game 5, so I don't know if he's hurt. Can you double-check that for me? I'm pretty sure Paul Reed...
Yeah,
Reed and Isaiah Stewart played all of the game,
He played 25 minutes in Game 5. He got benched for poor performance. Because Paul Reed his plus-minus was 0 in Game 5. Jalen Duren's was minus 16. He got benched for poor performance.
So that must have been in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Jalen Duren just sucks. He played 25 minutes in Game 5.
Okay. My fault then. It must have been fourth quarter and overtime. He only played 1 minute because Paul Reed was in there for a lot of crunch time. And
Gotta B-ball Paul, man. B-ball Paul is balling right now.
He is. He's playing his role. He's doing good. He's doing what he needs to do. Same with Tobias Harris, by the way. People are clowning Tobias Harris for his Game 5 performance. Bro has had an amazing postseason. So I'm going to cut him some slack because he had a bad game in Game 5. That's okay, though, because he's had his best postseason run of his entire career. So I'm going to cut him some slack. Dennis Jenkins has been okay. Asar Thompson, hey, this offseason, let's get him some shooting drills. Okay, he's a liability on offense. Like, I thought him and his brother were similar on offense. No, not close.
Not at all.
I know.
Clears him on offense.
Yes, and Asar, like, when he gets the ball, he looks scared to shoot. Like, his best attribute on offense is moving without the ball, setting screens, cutting, getting open. Like, he's good at that. But then once he gets the ball, it's like World War III in his brain. Like, bro does not know what to do. And that is another problem. Obviously, Duncan Robinson didn't play Game 5. The Pistons, yeah, I feel bad for Cade. Like, it seems like he is, in the Spider-Man movie when the boat's cut in half and Spider-Man's like holding everything together with the webs. That's Cade Cunningham right now, holding the entire.
That is great.
He is holding the entire ship together with his two hands, and Tobias Harris is somewhere like helping Cade somewhere. Like, but this is Cade right now, and I feel bad for him because I don't want him to go out like this, but it's really rough. What are your thoughts on this series? I feel like I just rambled for like 8 minutes about the Pistons, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I rambled about the Pistons too. I mean, I just shit on Jalen Duren for 2 minutes. Cade has been great. He's the only reason the Pistons are still in it. But how about Cleveland, man? Cleveland is playing a lot better than I thought. And for the record, you had your pat on the back for New York. Let me give my pat on the back for Cleveland because I had to go into the finals. So shout out me for that. But it's not just the two pairing of James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. How about Max Strus stepping up big time over the last 3 games? I mean, Max Strus, he was invisible in games 1 and 2, and now he's been arguably Cleveland's 3rd best player games 3 through 5. And look at that, Cleveland won the last 3 games. Max Strus has been instrumental for Cleveland getting back and now taking the lead in this series, and he's going to have to continue to be for the rest of the playoffs for as long as that lasts for Cleveland. And James Harden, man. How about James Harden rewriting the narratives? He has hit clutch shot after clutch shot this series. Game 4, he won them the game. Game 5, he practically took them to overtime. I mean, Harden is rewriting this playoff choker narrative, this playoff choker label that has been bestowed on him, and that is something I love to see. That's what Cleveland envisioned when they traded for him at the deadline. That's exactly what they're getting. Donovan Mitchell, truthfully, has not had the greatest playoffs in the world, aside from that 39-point second half that he randomly had. I was getting ready to say that Donovan Mitchell was having a really bad playoffs until that second half, and so now I have to give him okay because he broke a Cleveland franchise record, scoring 39 points in a half. But Mitchell has not been great. If you told me this is the playoffs Donovan Mitchell would be having, I would have been really surprised to see them get out of the first round. So that's credit to Harden. That's credit to Max Strus. That's credit to Jarrett Allen. And that's credit for a lot of the role players that are just stepping up big time for Cleveland right now. That's what they need to continue.
Hey.
Or they just need Donovan Mitchell to start looking like a superstar stuff again.
When we were making our predictions, who did I tell you was going to be big for them as well off the bench? Dennis Schroeder. Shout out him too. Because the way he's coaching these guards on the bench, he's talking to Donovan Mitchell at every timeout. He's talking to James Harden at every timeout. And when Dennis Schroeder is on the court, he gives you 110%. Okay, he gives you 110% on both ends of the court. And I want to shout out his leadership because that has been huge for them as well. And Max Strus, talk about leadership. He's coming from Miami, a team with arguably the best culture in all of professional sports, the Miami Heat. And it doesn't matter if he airballed a 3, banked in a 3, swished a 3. He is picking up Cade Cunningham full court, not giving a damn what happened on the last possession. And I appreciate the hell out of that. That takes some serious mental toughness to pick up one of the best players in the league full court every single possession that you are on the court and still have the mental ability to, when you get scored on, that's all right. Next possession. I'm still going to get my shots. I'm still going to, play my role on offense. All right, I missed the shot. Who cares? Where's Cade? Pick him up full court. Like, Max Strus is putting on a 3-and-D masterclass in this series. 3-and-D masterclass in this series. And like you said, he deserves a shout out because he has been probably, I would agree, probably their 3rd best player this series, Max Strus.
Here's a thought I had about Dennis Schroeder a few weeks ago, and I'm glad I get to say this now. Obviously not just his NBA career. He's not in this conversation. But when you account for his international career and what he's done for the German national team, Dennis Schroeder is a sneaky Hall of Fame candidate because he is an absolute star on the FIBA level. He hasn't been that good at the NBA level, but you can just see the experience that he has playing basketball, the veteran leadership that he brings to this team. Like you said, him constantly talking to Harden and Mitchell on the bench, letting them know what he's seeing from there. I mean, that is a veteran leader. That is exactly what you want to see. Shout out Schroeder, man. He may have not had the NBA career that he wanted. He might be best known for throwing away $70 million, as Luka Doncic loves to so infamously remind him that. But he has truly been one of the better players in international ball in recent years. And if a Hall of Fame class is weak one of these after he retires, he could very well sneak his way in. I'm not going to count that out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a possibility considering his FIBA career and the role he's playing right now. Reminds me a lot of the 2022 Warriors team with Iguodala coaching up Wiggins every time out he could. That to me, like what he's doing with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden is identical to that in my eyes. Obviously different impact, different players, obviously different situations, but just seeing on TV Dennis Schroeder constantly talking to his teammates about what he's seeing when he's on and off the court. Like even when he's not, even when he's playing, he's still doing all that stuff. He's coaching them from a player's perspective, and I think it's a significant help and was one of the reasons why I liked them trading for him and Keon Ellis and getting off of DeAndre Hunter. I thought that was a great trade for them because of this time right now, playoffs. Like obviously regular season, whatever, but playoffs, Dennis Schroeder has been around. He's played for so many teams. And haven't even talked about it. He played for the Pistons last year. So you think he knows a thing or two about the team they're playing. Like Dennis Schroeder's impact in this series too, I do not want to be overshadowed by the play of, Max Strus or James Harden because Dennis Schroeder is doing his job very well right now.
All right, before we move on to the last game 6, let me get a quick prediction from you. Does Cleveland finish the job tonight?
No. You know me. I'm going to stick with Detroit all till the end. I'm sticking with Detroit until the end.
But I had to ask.
Now, like I said, though, the winner of this game is going to win the series. So that's my opinion on this game. I think this is going to be the hardest game of the year for Detroit because I think Cleveland also knows, like, we have to win tonight to give ourselves the best chance at advancing. So I think the crowd's going to be insanely raucous. Cleveland's going to start fast with their hair on fire. Detroit's got to weather the storm, keep the game close, and let Cade close. That, to me, is the formula. You are not going to outscore Cleveland on their home court tonight. That, to me, is like not a recipe for success. You need to slow the game down, weather the storm, and trust that Cade Cunningham will be the best player on the court tonight. That to me, is the strategy, and I'm riding with him till the end. I have to. I'm not going to switch up on him now.
Well, lucky for you, defense is what the Pistons do best. It also is about the only thing that they actually do, aside from Cade Cunningham. So if they play up to your game plan, I think that'll work in their favor. But at home, Cleveland has yet to lose a game at home in this playoffs.
True.
I'm not going to. You know what? I'm going to pick them to take it. I think they're going to keep it going. I think Cleveland's going to get the job done tonight. Another James Harden masterclass, just as a cherry on top.
Yeah, though he's been on fire, especially in clutch time. He's been on fire.
And that game will tip off at 7 o'clock on Amazon Prime Video. Let's move on to the last of the 4 series, and what has been, my opinion, the most entertaining series of the 4. The San Antonio Spurs versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wemby versus Anthony Edwards has been everything NBA fans have wanted it to be, and then some. The stories that have come out of this, Wemby struggling game 1, then getting ejected game 4, then having a revenge game 5. I mean, it has been beautiful. And I'm just going to say this right now. This could be a hot take, but I believe that the best player in the NBA right now is Victor Wembanyama. And I think that is going to remain the case for the next decade. Shea is probably going to win MVP this year. And I don't love that, but I understand the argument. If I had a vote, Victor Wembanyama would get my vote. The 3 playoff games the San Antonio Spurs have lost. The first one, Wemby fell on his head and got a concussion. The second one, Wemby shot 5 of 17 from the field. The third one, Wemby got ejected. Those are the only 3 games San Antonio has lost throughout this playoffs. We have talked about how deep the San Antonio team is, and yes, they're deep, but so are the Oklahoma City Thunder, so are the Timberwolves, so are the Knicks, so is basically every team that has gotten this far, except the Pistons. They just somehow got here because Kane is great. The Pistons are not deep, but the majority of the time, teams that get this far in the season are all deep, right? So it's not the San Antonio Spurs depth that is getting them to this point. It is the greatness and the superstardom of Wemby. You put Jokic on the Spurs team, this Spurs team is not beating the Thunder. You put Anthony Edwards on the Spurs team, this Spurs team is not beating the Thunder. The only reason this Spurs team has a chance to make the NBA Finals this year is the presence of the most impactful defensive player in NBA history, Victor Wembanyama. He should win MVP this year, and I fully believe he is right now, today, the best player in the NBA.
What is your definition of best? Because I honestly think I would hear you out on the MVP argument more than I would hear you out on best. Like, what is the definition of best in your head?
Best. If you ranked all the players based on their skill level right now, I would put Wemby at number 1. Based on their ability to lead to a championship, I would put Wemby at number 1. So Wemby's over Jokic. Wemby's over Shea.
Yeah, no. So individual skill level and ability to lead your team to a championship. Individual skill level.
The same whatever criteria you use to rank your top 10 players, that's the criteria I'm using. I
think
Wembanyama is the best player in the NBA.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Okay. Here's the question: if you put Nikola Jokic in place of Wemby on the Spurs team, do you really think they're going to be better?
I could tell you right now they're not going to be worse.
I think they will be significantly worse. I think you are severely underestimating the
offensive.
Side of the ball.
Okay. Okay. Defensively, perhaps they will be worse, right? But let's not act like it's 4 traffic cones and Wemby on defense. Okay, so let's just start there. Offensively, the Spurs would be much better with Jokic. That's a fact. Offensively, they would be better with Jokic.
In what way?
Playmaking, spacing, everything.
Why did it spacing? You're acting like Wemby can't space it. Wemby is a much better 3-point shooter than Jokic, first of all. And you want to talk about playmaking?
They're the same 3-point shooter.
The Spurs do not need a playmaker. You have Stephon Castle to playmake. What do you need? What do you need a playmaker for? No, you need somebody that can finish shots at the rim. You think Nikola Jokic can run as nasty of a pick and roll with Stephon Castle as Wemby does? Not in the slightest. You think Dylan Harper is not going to be the playmaker they need? Not in the slightest. The Spurs do not need playmaking. And if they did, I would bet money that Wemby would be more than capable.
It's not that they need playmaking. It's that they would have an improvement of playmaking with Jokic. That's the difference.
A very minuscule difference. A difference that is completely mitigated by the improvement on defense.
So the playmaking difference between Wemby and Jokic is minuscule. If you replace...
Yes.
Okay.
Jokic
all right. So playmaking is different in your mind than it is mine. That's fine. Playmaking is different in your mind. It's not plays that you can make for yourself. It's plays you can make for your teammates.
Yeah.
How you can get them open shots. How you can get them open to score. Wemby does a great job getting himself open to score. He does not do a great job of getting his teammates open to score. When you compare him to Jokic.
What? Okay. Nobody does a great job of doing that compared to Jokic. Jokic is the best in the league.
Well, also not true. Also not true. Also not true.
But those are the only
Luka.
Those are the 2 best players. Okay, fair. The Jokic, Hallie, Luka.
Cade.
I'll throw them in the top 3. But okay. Not this playoffs, no. Cade has had to score more.
Because he's had to score, but that doesn't mean his playmaking's bad. There's plenty of players comparable to playmaking in Jokic.
That is the same argument I'm using for Wemby because he has to score. That does not.
No, he does not.
Wembanyama's job on this team is to score. It is to be the rim finisher. It is to be that dominant force offensively and defensively in the paint that nobody can match up against. That is why the Spurs team wins when he is in and loses when he's out. Because Luke Cornett is not doing anything that Victor Wembanyama can.
True, because Luke Cornett's ass.
In the NBA. No center in the NBA is doing what Victor Wembanyama can do.
Defensively, correct. Defensively correct. Offensively, there are plenty of centers that
is
can
so-
do what Wemby does and more offensively. Plenty.
What? What centers do you see bringing the ball up the court? It is Jokic. That is it. Jokic. That is the only other center you can be. You can even have an argument that he is handling the ball, that he is servicing as essentially a point center. There is one other player, and he is a 3-time MVP. So there is to act like what Wemby is doing offensively is normal is incredibly disrespectful, because there are very few centers in the history of the league that are doing what Wemby is doing.
Wemby does not bring the ball up the court regularly. It's here or there in transition. They do not give him the ball off an inbound and let him run the offense. That is not.
Yeah, sure.
That is not what happens.
Yeah, sure. Jokic doesn't do that every time either because they have Jamal Murray. Why would the Spurs do it when they have Castle and Dylan Harper? They don't need to. But Wemby is very capable of handling the rock on the fast break. Hell, Jokic isn't running fast breaks. He can't run. He's a slow fat Serbian. He's not running on no fast breaks. You're talking about handling the rock on fast breaks. That is something only Wemby is doing. There is not another center in the league. There's not another 7-footer in the league that is running on fast breaks.
Okay, maybe. That is probably true. Okay, that is probably true. But
We're going to act like it doesn't make a difference? We're going to act like a 7'4" demigod bringing the ball up the court? I mean, you can't stop that. Because what if he decides to pull up for 3? You're not contesting it. You just pray he misses. Or you send a double out. What does he do? He finds the open man. He doesn't need to be the primary playmaker, but he is a good playmaker. And I'm willing to bet if he had to be the primary one, he would be a great playmaker. He wouldn't be Jokic, but he would be a great playmaker. And he is very, very close offensively in the skill set to Jokic that more than make up for the defensive gap between those two players.
Okay, that's a fair argument. I want to go back to what you said about Wemby needs to score, which is not true at all, because if he was, he would be taking 25 to 30 shots per game. And he's averaging, 17 shots per game?
Yeah.
Because they have other guys that can score. Yeah. Fox, Castle, Vassell, Harper, Champagnie, Keldon Johnson. They've got so many guys that put up shots. Wemby does not need to score for this offense to be productive. That is not his role on this team. His role is to be the number one, but that his role is not to score 35 points a game so that we have a chance. That is not his role.
No, it's to be an offensive hub. It's to be the center point of the offense. You see these other guys that you mentioned are getting open looks because the entire defense is how do you stop the 7'4" guy when he's in the paint? You have to send a double. You have to let Wemby make other guys beat you, because Wembanyama will beat you. If you single cover him in the paint, he will take at 35 points that you'll give him every single day of the week. The reason he's only putting up 17 shots a night, like you said, is because the other team's defense is focused solely. How do we take him out of the game? And the only way you can is by freeing up opportunities for the other players. And that is just a catch-22 that only Victor Wembanyama presents with his presence in the paint presents that conundrum for other teams.
Yes, that is very much true. But I've seen two guys in particular where their team is playing a team that's taking them away and they're still getting theirs. Example one is Ant on the other side. The Spurs are taking him away and he is still getting his. He is still getting his. Same with Cade. The Cavs are trying to get the ball out of Cade's hands and he's still getting his. I have not seen Wemby do that yet when they double him and he's still dropping 35. I have not seen that to this point yet. Okay, so where this whole conversation started was when you said Wemby's the best individual player in the league. So now this is my second part of the question. Would the Spurs be worse if you replaced Wemby with Giannis?
Yes, they would be.
I agree.
I think they would.
I agree.
I think they would be much worse.
I do not think they would be much worse.
I think there would be a play-in team. They would be a play-in team with Giannis. And I'm a Giannis fan. Giannis is my favorite NBA player ever.
And
Giannis
okay,
does not have the defensive impact that Wembanyama has. Offensively, that's a great comparison. I feel like Giannis in the paint is very similar to Wemby in the paint. Is that when they are there, the entire team's other focus has to be stopping them. whenever they are in the paint.
What does Giannis do on
Defensively,
defense that isn't great? Like, what is he bad at on defense?
He's a great defender. I'm not saying Giannis is a bad defender. Giannis is a great defender. You know, the only thing he lacks is that he's not 7'4". That's the only reason he's not as good as Wemby.
Okay, so from an individual skill level, it's the same. From an individual skill level, it's the same. The only thing different is their height, which you can't control. That's the only thing different.
Yes, but it doesn't matter. But it matters. You can't just say your height doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can't control your height.
Yes, no.
That is what
From
it is.
From a ranking player perspective, from an individual skill perspective, Giannis is a more skilled basketball player than Wembanyama. True or false?
False. Very false. That's
So,
like blatantly false.
no, not blatantly false. Are you kidding me?
Giannis is an athletic freak, okay? Giannis has gotten this far because of his athleticism. Yes, his skills have developed over time, but his jumper has not gotten there. His jumper has never been
jump
at
shooting.
an elite level.
That's fine.
He is an elite. He is an elite slasher to the rim because of his athleticism. I'm not going to discredit for him for that. But you're talking about a player's individual skill level. Giannis's skills haven't necessarily developed since he's won MVP. Okay, no, since he's won MVP. Since he has won MVP. He had that massive meteoric rise from outside the lottery pick to star, to superstar, to MVP. Since Giannis has won those 2 MVPs and gotten that championship, his game has not evolved. His game has stayed the same. And as unfortunate as it is, that is true. Giannis has only been prioritized more in the Bucks offense, and that's why you've seen him constantly put up 30 points, because he is the entire Bucks offense. But he has not improved really any facets of his game to a dramatic level that Victor Wembanyama has improved his jump shot in 2 years in the NBA more than Giannis has. Fair?
Very fair. I gave you shooting. That's fine. But I'm not going to...
Victor Wembanyama's rookie year on defense is better than Giannis ever was on defense. That's not up for debate.
Why though? Because he's 7'4", or because he's better on defense than Giannis? Yes. Why?
Because he's 7'4". He's better on defense because he's 7'4".
Yes. So to me, no, you're knocking Giannis for that because he's not 7'4". That's my point. You're taking away Giannis's greatness because he's not as tall as Victor Wembanyama. That is so dumb. That is so dumb.
I'm taking away everybody else's greatness because they're not as tall as Victor
Yes,
Wembanyama.
that is dumb.
Not everybody is going to be 7'4". Him being 7'4" is part of the entire reason why he's as great as he is. Because you don't see 7'4" guys that can do the things he can do.
Yes, but him being 7'4" and being able to be the greatest defender of all time is not as impressive as Giannis being an all-NBA first-team defender with his build. Not as impressive. Not as impressive.
What?
No, because Wemby's 7'4", he's good at defense. Because Wemby's 7'4", he can catch lobs and dunk. That's not impressive. Him bringing the ball up the court is good. That's impressive. That part of his game is impressive. But the other part...
Why is Kristaps Porzingis not having the same effect? Why is Zach Edey not having the same effect? Why did Ralph Sampson... Why is he not an all-time NBA
Because they're not as good as Wemby. But that's fair to compare them to those players. Yes, that's fair to compare them to those players because they were similar height. Yes.
You have to compare Wemby to every player. I have to compare Wemby to Austin Reeves. They're both in the NBA. They have to be compared to each other. You can't categorize players based on height.
Yes.
So I can't knock Wemby for his... I mean, Wemby is better than Giannis because he's 7'4". As unfair as it is, that is reality. That is reality. Wemby is better than Jokic because he is 7'4".
Okay. Based on that logic, if Wemby was 6'3", would he be Steph Curry?
No.
If Wemby was 6'8", would he be LeBron James?
No.
Okay, so I can just say because LeBron is 6'8" and 250 and he's massive and he has a great athletic frame, he's the greatest of all time. That's what you're saying. Because Wemby's 7'4", he's the greatest of all time.
What?
He's the best player in the league.
No,
that's what it feels like you're saying.
No. LeBron James is in the conversation for greatest of all time because he's won 4 rings, he's won 4 MVPs, and he's the NBA's all-time leading scorer. None of those 3 things would be true if LeBron was 6'5", 200 pounds. He would not be any of those three things.
Why
Wembanyama
not?
is the best
Steph
player in the
Steph
NBA.
is shorter and weighs less than that, isn't as a champion and MVP.
Okay.
So why could LeBron not do that at 6'5", 200?
Yeah, because if Steph Curry was 5'11", he wouldn't be those things.
How do you know
If he was
that?
5'11", he would not be the greatest shooter of all time. Because he wouldn't be. He might be a great shooter, but every other part of his game would be mitigated. He would not be serviceable. He would be Isaiah Thomas 2.0. I mean, the height matters in the NBA. And yes,
It does. It does matter. No, you're right. It does matter. But I'm not going to take it away from other players' greatness because Wemby happens to be 5 inches taller than them. I'm not personally going to do that.
Okay.
I'm personally not going to do that.
Okay. Every point guard has a better handle than every center, right? I think not everyone, but I think that is basically a
It's
fair
part of
kind of like
yes, because it's part of their job
Okay,
description.
But
Yes.
we are not ranking point guards above centers, even though they are more skilled handling the rock. That is what your height gives. That is an advantage your height gives you over big men. The same way we are not ranking big men above point guards because they get more rebounds and more blocks. That is part of the job. What Wembanyama is doing, he is encapsulating the job of everybody. This is a 7'4" guy. This is not just an average center. A center that is 7'4", doing point guard things. That is why he is the greatest player in the NBA right now. It has nothing to do. Yes, it has to do with his height, but to act. And yes, if he was 6'11", he wouldn't be. That's how it is. That's how life works. Giannis is 6'5", he's not an all-time great. LeBron is 6'3", he's not an all-time great. Michael Jordan was 6 flat, he isn't. Steph Curry is 5'11", he isn't. If you take height away from any player in the NBA, they're not as good as they would have been. That's part of the game. And so to say what Giannis is the same caliber of player as Wemby, that's just disrespectful. They're not. Yes, Wemby's 7'4". He has 5.
Giannis is a champion and an
You can't
MVP.
do anything about that.
Until Wemby has either one of those, he is not on Giannis's level. I'm sorry.
No,
He's not.
No, presently, this
Ya-
current day. Today.
Giannis and Wemby are in the same tier of player from an individual level today. Yes. Just like Shea, just like Jokic.
That's my argument.
No, you're arguing that Wemby is far and away the best player in the league. That's what you're arguing. In a tier by himself, that's what you're arguing.
Yeah.
I just said they're in
the
this.
best player in the league. Yeah.
Yes, from an individual
exactly. You're
perspective,
right.
Shea, Jokic, Giannis are all better than Wemby.
Not one of them can do the things on defense that Wemby does, and he can do everything on offense that all of them do.
No, he cannot. That's just blatant lying to yourself. He cannot do everything that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander does on offense. No, he cannot. No, he
You're
cannot.
right. He doesn't flop. You're right. Well, what can he do? He's an elite mid-range shooter. He can shoot the 3 ball. He's a great finisher at the. What does Shea do on offense that Wemby cannot?
Facilitate, first of all. Off the dribble shooting. Off the dribble shooting.
What? When most of Wembanyama's threes come off the dribble. What are we talking
No,
about?
they
here?
do not. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my
Okay,
god.
hold on. We also want to talk about facilitating. Let's look at these playoff statistics for a second. Talk about facilitating. Shea has averaged 5.6 assists
Good for him.
throughout this playoffs. When 5 points, yeah, that's a great number. Okay, and that's a point guard. That's what he's supposed to do. Wembanyama as a center. Basketball reference. Come on, you need to work right now. Okay, that's April. Where are the playoff stats? Okay, I don't know why they're not showing up. Okay, he averaged 3.5 on the year. I'm trying to see his playoff stats, but it is not showing up in the game logs.
You are correct that, well, first of all, Shea and Jokic, yes, you are correct. There are things that Wemby does on defense that Giannis can do. So to say that those players can't do anything that Wemby does is also a lie. Not true. And offensively, Giannis scores in the paint just like Wemby. Jokic facilitates and is a better post player than Wemby. Facts. Yeah. And Shea is a better off-the-dribble shooter and shot creator for himself and his teammates. Fact.
Yeah, that
okay.
I disagree with. The first two got me. The last one is also. Did you really say Giannis can do the same things on defense as Wemby?
Some of them.
Did you really just say that?
Some of them. Yes. Yes. Rebounding. What's the difference rebounding between the two of them? Giannis is an elite rebounder, as is Wembanyama. That is
Yeah,
a
he is.
defensive stat. So yes, some of the things Wemby can do, other players can do. That is true. And Giannis is one of those special players that can do that. Yes.
I can grab a rebound. Are we throwing me in those conversations? Yes, other players.
You
can grab
can't
rebounds
average a
in the
double
NBA.
double in the NBA. You can't average a double double in the NBA.
No, and nobody else is averaging 4 blocks a game. Nobody.
No, I didn't say blocks. I said rebounds. I didn't say anything about blocks.
You are leaving. Okay, but you were leaving out a crucial part of defense. Then.
Yes.
If we're talking rebounds, why aren't we talking about Domantas Sabonis as the best?
No, I'm not.
In the NBA?
I'm not saying rebounds are the only thing that take away defense. You're acting like Wemby is the only person that can do what he does. That's what you're acting like. And
He's the only person that can average 4 blocks a game. He is.
What I'm trying to get across is there are players that are just as good as Wembanyama, if not better. And that's because they do different things better than Wembanyama. Obviously, not everyone can average 4 blocks, dribble the ball up the court, and slam dunk on your head because he's 7'4". Obviously, everyone can't do that. But to say that Giannis can't do some of the things Wemby does defensively is a lie. To say Jokic can't do some of the things Wemby does offensively is a lie. It's just a lie. And it's okay. It's okay if you feel that way. And it's okay that we disagree. But to sit here and say that Shai is not a better on-ball shot creator for himself than Wembanyama, are you kidding? Are you kidding? People want to ban the offensive push-off because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Coaches are pleading for it because of Shai and how open he can get himself for shots. Wemby cannot do that at this stage in his career. He cannot do that. And that is okay that he cannot do that because he is so great at so many other things. And I don't want to take away the greatness of Wemby or these other players by comparing them because they are completely different. And because I value certain aspects over what you value, that is where our rankings disagree. So if you think Wemby is the best player in the league, that is okay because he has entered my top 5, no doubt. But to argue Wemby is the best player in the league because he can do things that Giannis cannot do and Shai cannot do and Jokic cannot do is flat out blasphemy.
I'm not lying. It is an opinion. None of this is a lie. This is all what I think. And I could pull up film showing that, yes, he can create on the ball. He pulls up from 3 off the dribble. Wow, he's just as good as fucking Shai. He does defend the paint better than Giannis. For you to say that is a flat-out lie. When has Giannis ever averaged 3 blocks a game? You cannot point to a single year in his career that he's done that. So to say that he can do the same things, that is a lie. And I can prove that with numbers. I mean, like...
Are you done? I don't want to interrupt you. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
But for you to call me out on interrupting when you have been doing this the entire episode is kind of crazy.
Did I say that Giannis can do the same things as Wemby, or did I say he can do some of the same things as Wemby?
Some. He can't do everything the same. That's why Wemby's better.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't tripping and said that Giannis can do everything Wemby can do. That I don't think I said that.
No, you didn't. But look, Magic Johnson averaged 10 assists a game in his career. Ricky Rubio averaged 10 assists a game in his career. Ricky Rubio can do some of the things that Magic Johnson can do. But Ricky Rubio is nowhere near as good as Magic Johnson because he cannot do the other things that Magic Johnson brought to the table. Magic Johnson was also 6'8". That height at his position gives him an advantage over other point guards who are not 6'8". You can argue whether or not that's fair, but to take that away from the argument to just disregarding the advantages that Magic Johnson brings to your team, that is an integral part of the game. Magic Johnson would not be an all-time great if he was 6'4". That is a fact. He would be in the comparisons of Rajon Rondo. That's the conversations he would be in. If Wembanyama was even 7 foot, yes, he would not be the greatest defender of all time. That is a fact. But he is not. He is 7'4", and no amount of arguing is going to take that away. You have to figure out how to work around that if you're on offense. And as of right now, nobody can. And if Wemby keeps getting better, nobody will be able to.
Yes, I understand that. And if Wemby was 6'10", but had the same stats he does now, he would still be the best defender in the league. he would still be the best defender of all time. Is that fair to say?
Yes, but if he was 6'10", he wouldn't have those same stats.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, maybe. You're right, maybe. But if Wemby was so gifted from a skill perspective, which is what I'm trying to argue, then it wouldn't matter as long as he was tall enough to guard the rim. Does that make sense? Like, obviously, if he was 6'4". Okay, so if Wemby's skill set was the same, but he was 7 foot instead of 7'4", you don't think he would average the same numbers?
No, he would average less. Your physical build matters.
Okay, so when we're ranking players from an individual skill perspective, you are ranking physical attributes as skill. That is part of your.
It matters in the day physical attributes don't matter in the NBA is the day I won't include that. But yes, that does matter.
Okay. In my rankings, it really doesn't matter. In terms of size.
Why is Kyrie Irving not number 1 on your rankings then? Because that is the most skilled player the NBA has ever seen, is Kyrie.
Okay, I would disagree with that. I think one of the most skilled player I think we've ever seen is LeBron James. But that's okay. That's okay.
Fair.
But that's okay that we disagree on that.
5 then? My point. Why
because
is Kyrie not your top 5 as one of the most skilled of all time?
One, his accolades. But I guess if we're saying physical attributes don't count to individual skill, then maybe accolades should not. But your ranking, you said individual skill and your ability to lead a team to a championship. Is that what you said at the beginning of this discussion? Those 2 criteria. Yeah. Okay, so Kyrie, great skill. I don't trust him to lead my team to a championship. He's never once done that in his life. So that to me is why he's not in the top 5. Is that fair?
Yeah, fair. Counterpoint though. What about Shaq?
Shaq?
Player, he doesn't have a ton of great skill, but he's physically dominant and can lead your team to a championship.
Correct. He's in my top 5 all time. Yes, but we're talking about current players right now. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are.
Shaq is in my top 5 all time. Yes, it's a combination of the 2.
Dominant.
Yes, a combination of the 2 alludes to my rankings. Physical attributes are not a part of that. And so I guess, skill.
What?
Skill and your ability to lead a team to a championship is how I rank you. Whether you're 7'4" or 6'5", I don't care. It has to do with your skill and your ability to lead a team to a championship. That's my opinion.
You are not including physical, like your physical abilities at all, and yet you have Shaq in the top 5.
Yes.
That is insane. That is insane. That is insane. The only reason Shaq is relevant is because he was 7 foot 300 pounds and can bully anybody in the NBA. Take away 50 pounds from Shaquille O'Neal, he's not an all-time great.
Okay, maybe, but that was his mentality, and again, his ability to dominate, I think, has more to do with his play style than his body type. Wemby's ability to dominate defensively has a lot to do with his wingspan and height as opposed to his play style.
Yeah, but that's not a knock.
No, it's...
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, Alex. But it's also not a bad thing to be 6'8" and be one of the greatest playmakers the game's ever seen and still average a triple-double in the playoffs. And, like, all these things are great. But I think being able to have individual skill is more impressive and more important to me than how tall you measure up at the doctor's office. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. But it's not just Wemby being 7'4" that is getting him there. It's the things that he can do at his size. Because we don't see giants that tall that have the coordination and the dexterity and the ability to move that Wembanyama has. That is what makes him great. If height is the only thing that mattered, I mean, we would be seeing Taco Fall. We would be having Taco Fall in All-Star discussions, right? He's not there because there is a lot more that matters to the game of basketball than how tall you are. And Wembanyama is the complete package. If you could build a player from scratch to dominate the NBA, it would look a lot like Victor Wembanyama. It would have a lot of the same skill sets as Victor Wembanyama. He would do a lot of the same things on the court as Wembanyama. He would have a very similar mentality as Victor Wembanyama. And those are the reasons why he is the greatest player in the NBA right now. And if I had to win a championship today to save my life, and I could have any player in the league, I would take Wembanyama to win me one today.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is if you could build any player from the ground up, it's LeBron James. And the only piece, his body
Disagree there.
is built for longevity. Wembanyama is not.
I'll give you that. That's a good point.
And
I didn't consider that.
if you were to build a player from the ground up, it would be a clone of LeBron James. That is my opinion. Wembanyama can do a lot of things LeBron can't do. But to build a NBA player to what you used, dominate the league, yeah, LeBron's dominated the league for 2+ decades. That is exact. I mean, he's got an entire conference that might have a statue for him when he retires. The Eastern Conference is LeBron's conference. Like, it is known as that. And that's just my opinion on that. And we love to argue about Wemby. I think he's probably the most controversial player on this podcast. Just because of our disagreements. And I try to not let these arguments take away my love for Wemby because I love Wemby. And he's still in my top 5 in the league. And I love the way he plays the game. I just think you are really high on him, and that is okay and that's your opinion, and that's okay. And I should not get as heated as I do based on your opinions. But I also need to understand that I'm talking to a guy who thinks Wemby is going to be the second greatest player of all time behind Michael Jordan. So I need to mentally prepare myself for conversations like this when you're talking about Wemby, because you hold him to a much higher standard than I do, and that is okay. That is okay.
Okay, just to wrap this up, what players would you take to win you a championship right now, today, over Victor Wembanyama? Injured or not? Anybody.
Shea. Jokic. Giannis. And God, you're gonna hate me.
Just say Cade Cunningham.
You know what? No. No. Wemby's 4th on that list. Wemby's 4th on that list to me.
On that list, I think I would. I think I would take Wemby first. I think I would take.
And
Wemby
that's
above
okay.
All 3 of those guys.
That's okay.
To win the championship today.
Do you notice the 3 themes of the players I picked over Wemby though? And this is why I didn't put Cade. All of them have already
won championships.
All of them have already proven to be the best player on a championship team. So that's why I didn't give it to Cade. And honestly, the other guy I thought about was Ant. Anthony Edwards, to me, can absolutely lead my team to a championship. I have no doubts about that. But he hasn't yet. And neither has Cade, and neither has Wemby. So I respected that logic, and I kept Wemby at 4. But if I had a gun to my head, and I had to pick one singular player to lead my team to a championship, there is nobody I would take over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now.
Okay, question. Who was the best player in the NBA in 2009?
Could not tell you. I did not watch the NBA in 2009.
Okay, well, I thought you were going to say LeBron, honestly. Who was the best player in the NBA in 2013?
Probably that would have been Miami LeBron, so probably LeBron.
I would say Miami LeBron, good answer. I would also hear you on Kevin Durant. That was his first MVP year. Neither LeBron nor Kevin Durant had won championships at those respective times in their careers 2009 LeBron, 2013 Durant. Yet they were still pretty widely recognized by their peers, by their coaches, by the entire league administration as the best player in the league. I don't necessarily think that you have to have a current championship to be the best player in the league. Now, if we flash forward in 5 years and Wemby still hasn't won, yes, that is an argument that we can use against him. But right now, age 22 Wemby, I don't really think that's a bad thing that he hasn't won a championship. I mean, you can't point to many 22-year-olds in league history and say they have led that team to a championship, right? It's Magic Johnson and Kawhi Leonard. Those are the two young guys that you can
Correct.
make that argument for, and that's pretty elite conversation if Wemby can join them. But if he doesn't, I don't think that's the end of the world, and I don't think that means he's not the best player.
That's definitely a fair argument for sure, and that's why I have him over the other guys that haven't won a championship. And there are players who have won a championship, like my favorite player in the league, Steph Curry, who I don't think is as good as Wembanyama right now. Right? So I don't have Wemby ranked below every single player that's won a championship. Again, it's the combination of your postseason accolades with your individual skill. And that's where I feel like where Shai in particular, we just saw him last year win the finals MVP, the season MVP, and the NBA championship. That to me are that's three things that Wemby has not done one of them yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Shai, from a skill perspective, is just as good as Wembanyama, in my opinion. So that's where the hierarchy comes into play. That's all.
Shai is the hardest for me to make an argument against. But Giannis, as much as I love Giannis, he has been a first-round exit the last 3 postseasons he has been in, and his team didn't even make it this year. So you are still picking Giannis today's version of Giannis, not prime Giannis, today's version of Giannis over Wembanyama?
Yeah, because I'm not picking the Bucks over the Spurs. I'm picking Giannis over Wemby. Does that make sense? I'm not picking the Bucks.
It makes sense, but I still would not do that. Even
and that's
fan,
okay.
Even as a Giannis fan,
that's okay. That's okay. And when Wemby wins a championship, I'm sure my opinion on that will change. But I've seen Giannis win a championship when he was the driver. This man scored 50 in the last game of the season to win the championship. That's a guy I trust to lead me to a championship. Does that that's kind of where my head's at, right? I'm not taking the Bucks over the Spurs, obviously, to win me a championship. But the guy who I've seen score 50 in an NBA Finals game to win the championship, yeah, I know he's had some struggles, but I'm going to trust him, especially when he's still in the prime of his career. Again, I'm not taking LeBron because he's 41 years old, right? Giannis, I would still consider in the prime of his career. Same as Jokic. I would still consider him the prime of his career, even though they're older than Wemby. They're still in the prime. And what's the most impressive thing to me about Wemby is he has not entered his prime yet. That is the most impressive thing to me about Victor Wembanyama. And that is what should scare the rest of the league. So that is my opinions on Wemby. I don't think he's the best player in the league. Alex does, and that's okay. It's okay that we disagree. But for some reason, we get heated about Wemby. We just get spicy.
We haven't even talked about the Timberwolves yet. We haven't even mentioned Minnesota.
Nope. And honestly, just 2 things I want to talk on real quick. We talked about Jalen Duren having a no-show. Where the hell's Julius Randle? You need to show up tonight if you guys are going to have a chance to win. And then Ant on one leg, absolutely balling. I'm going to reiterate what I said at our second round predictions. Nobody has more dog in the league than Anthony Edwards. That man is all dog. All dog. What he is doing in this series, you can tell he's athletically compromised because some of these layups he's had would be absolutely monstrous throwdowns. And you can tell his knee is bothering him. He's gimpy up and down the court in some of these games. And yet he has given them a chance to really win this series, to be honest. He has kept them in this series. And they're going to need a monster Ant game tonight. What are your predictions for tonight's game? I think the Spurs are going to win and close it out tonight.
I also got Spurs winning. One thing I want to say about Ant, I love that he is playing through injury. Like you said, absolute dog that he is battling through something that is clearly hindering him on the court. But I also watched him on defense. And I watched Sixth Man of the Year, Keldon Johnson, back him down for 3 straight possessions, straight back to the rim for an easy layup. Honestly, I think that is more on Chris Finch and the Timberwolves. You see it work once, you gotta tell a guy to send help to get over and help Ant out. But I'm not willing to call a guy the biggest dog in the league when the Sixth Man of the Year was posting him up and making him look like a baby on the block. So that's and I do think the injury does play a factor in that. I think if he was healthy, he would be able to put up a better fight. But I mean, defensively, he has not shown out against these great Spurs guards they have.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like Captain Obvious, but your knee is pretty important in lateral quickness and core and body strength. Like, you need your knees and your legs to be able to stop someone from posting you up, right? Like,
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like,
that's crazy.
So yes, I hear you, but also I'm not going to let you can watch him play and you know he's not 100%. That's all. And
yeah.
He is still out here being the second best player in the series. Like, that to me is truly remarkable what Anthony Edwards is doing right now. He has been incredible.
I wasn't as much of a knock on Ant. Maybe I phrased that as I wasn't necessarily knocking Ant as much as I was knocking the Timberwolves staffs. Because you got a guy out there basically on one knee. You have to know you have to support him on defense. You have to send help when he's getting bullied on the block, and they just didn't.
And I mean, honestly,
Keldon Johnson looked like prime LaMarcus Aldridge out there. It was an issue.
I honestly, counterpoint to that, I think if I'm Chris Finch, I actually agree with him in saying if Keldon Johnson beats us, that's fine. Like, if they're going to post up Keldon Johnson every possession of the game, they're not going to win, right? Like, if that's their offense. So I honestly, if that was the strategy, I understand. But once it works once or twice, maybe you do have to just give him a different look. But also, I think from the perspective of if Keldon Johnson is taking all their shots, we have a damn good chance of winning this game. So that would also be counterpoint to that argument, is like why they're not sending help.
Well, if Keldon Johnson drops 23 again in Game 6, I don't think the Timberwolves have a chance in hell to win this game.
No, probably not. Probably not. But, yeah, let's move on to the closing segment. I know that was a long-winded argument, but we're going to get into a blind ranking here. Alex is going to be blind ranking 10 players that are currently still remaining in the playoffs. So from the 6 teams, the 2 teams that are in the conference finals, and the 4 teams that play tonight, we've got 10 players. Alex is going to rank them. This is going to get interesting. This is a great list of players. And Alex, do you have any questions? And are you ready?
The 6 teams currently still in it, right? So no Sixers, no Lakers. The other 6 teams.
No Sixers, no Lakers.
All right, I'm good. I'm ready.
All right, first name up, Mikal Bridges.
See, Mikal Bridges has been the 4th best player on New York, which is not what they expected when they traded for him. Mikal Bridges was to be the great second option that New York needed, and he has been fairly disappointing this playoffs. I mean, I'm about to rank him like he's better than a role player, but he isn't playing like a role player. I'm gonna put him in at 5. I think that's a nice healthy meet. I think that's a good healthy middle spot.
All right, Mikal Bridges at 5. Next up, Alex's GOAT, AJ Mitchell.
4. I really want to put him at 4. Oh.
I honestly wouldn't hate you for it. He's had a better postseason than Bridges for sure.
I think I'm gonna do that. He has had a better postseason. But we haven't had an All-Star yet, and that only saves me 3 spots. You know, put AJ Mitchell, throw him in at 4. He deserves it.
Based on playoffs alone, I agree. Otherwise, I do not. But that's okay. Next up, Devin Vassell.
Spurs have been good, but Vassell has not been the standout for the Spurs. I mean, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and Keldon Johnson, as well as Wemby, are all offensive options above Devin Vassell. I would have put Vassell in at 7. I'm gonna put Vassell at 7. I think we're gonna get some bench players. Vassell's good enough to not be at the bottom, but
All right, next up,
yeah,
we
I think
have
Wilson Bridges.
role player of the year, Paul Reed.
B-ball Paul. I'm sorry to do this to you. You got to go in at 10.
Oh,
Third string center.
yeah.
He has ball against Cleveland, and that hurts. But
yeah.
Am I really going to get a worse player than a third string center? I don't
Totally,
know.
totally
put him
fair.
at 10.
All right, next up, Evan Mobley.
First All-Star on the list. He's definitely top 3. Just swear. You know what? Mobley did not have the year that he was expected to after he was a decoy last year. He was expected to take a jump offensively, and he just still averaged 18 and 8. He's averaged that for the last 3 years. He's averaging that in the playoffs. He's great defensively. His offense has not improved at all. I'm sure we are going to get some kind of superstar on this list. So let's let Mobley in at 3.
All right, Mobley at 3. Next up, Julius Randle. This is about to be interesting.
Okay. You know what? Devin Vassell has been better than Julius Randle this playoffs. Is that fair to say?
Not in the first round. Randle was kind of
Fair,
balling
fair.
against the Nuggets.
Yeah, good point. I forgot about that. I'll put Randle in at 6.
Yeah, I don't want to sway your rankings. These are your rankings, but I was thinking to myself, there's no way he ranks him below Vassell. There's no way. 6. That's where I would have put him based on what you had already. I would have put him at 6. So, I honestly
That's basically 1, 2, 8, and
9.
That's wow.
Yeah.
1, 2, 8, and 9.
All right, next up,
Phenomenal. That's not what we like to see.
Karl Anthony Towns.
I have to put him at 2, man. I have to. I'm going to end up with some bomb at number 1. It's going to piss me off so much. But I have to put Cat at 2.
All right, Cat at 2.
And
Next up, this
I'm
should
not
help.
loving
This should help you out a little bit. Jared Allen.
okay, definitely not 1. I wish I put Jared Allen ahead of Randall and Vassell, and above Bridges for that matter. But just to keep the rankings somewhat respectable, let's throw him in at 8.
8, yeah. I think that was your only situation there. Hey, Game 7 Allen was different. Game 7 Allen was different.
He was. 2020. He had a 2020. He was a stud. If
Yeah.
I had this ranking blind, I think I would put him at 4. Or unblinded, if I knew all the players, I think he'd be 4.
Yeah.
So
All right.
far.
Next up on the list, Cade Cunningham.
Okay, I like that one. That is exactly what we needed. That is what we like to see. Put him in at 1. That top 3 is perfect. Cade, Cat, Mobley.
All right.
And then AJ Mitchell, of course. Great foursome right there.
At number 9, I would disagree with this, but honestly, you might laugh at it. Chet Holmgren.
I'm not mad. I am not mad. Yeah. Oh, that's not great. That could have been much worse though. Like Chet behind Jared Allen. Yeah, that's not bad. Chet behind Mikal Bridges. That's not bad either. Behind Julius Randle's kind of that's not great. You know what? I could have been much worse. You know, I really thought that you were gonna end me off with a superstar, and I was gonna have like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the 9th spot, and that just ruined it. Chet,
Yeah.
That's not the worst thing in the world. And
No.
we at the Hoopers Lounge do not like Chet Holmgren. We are not Chet Holmgren
No.
fans. So
And he's
anytime we can slander Chet Holmgren, I will take that opportunity.
He might have set a world record for most flops in a series against the Lakers. He might have flopped
Shea
more
taught
than
him well.
he might yeah. Chet flops more than Shea now. I'm pretty sure because Shea like legitimately gets fouled. I'm pretty sure Chet just flops. Like he just flops.
He's 7 foot. He'll get fouled by Austin Reeves and act like he just got trucked by a linebacker. It is like horror. It is so bad to like, and like this Thunder team is truly an all-time great team, and we would be talking about them as such if they didn't have this stupid, awful reputation they earned of flopping. It is just No basketball fans like to watch that, and they're not getting the respect they deserve because of that. And now Chet is the main culprit of that. So you know what? Put B-Ball Paul at number 9. Chet, you're finishing on 10. B-Ball Paul doesn't flop.
That's funny. That's funny. At a minutes per game basis, Chet definitely has more flops than B-Ball Paul. 100%.
He has the most flops of anyone on this list.
Absolutely. But that'll wrap up this edition of the Hoopers Lounge. With the second round hopefully not wrapping up tonight, would love 1 or 2 Game 7s. That would absolutely be electric.
True.
But the conference finals are right around the corner, almost to the Final Four of the NBA season. Draft lottery behind us. Absolutely insane. We've got some great playoff games coming up, no doubt. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.